Hey guys, today we're gonna do a tier list about what I call perks in this game. Whatever this is called, right? Skills or support characters, I don't know, let's call them perks. So we're gonna start off by ranking this one right here first. It is called Quick Attack and it throws a rebounding ball that knocks back enemies. Now I think at this point everyone is aware how game-breakingly busted that thing is. It is literally meta-defining. You start a match off, or at least a lot of very good players, they start off a match, and if they don't see this on the very first screen, they're just gonna restart the battle until they find this one here first. You take this, you level it up as fast as possible, and then you're gonna worry about your defenses, because this thing alone carries you through the match when it comes to damage output alone, you know what I mean? So this is of course gonna be our S tier, needless to explain, and we're gonna go from here. This thing is, by the way, so incredibly busted. I turned it into a little bit of a meme for myself. I refer to this game being all about finding and upgrading your balls as fast as possible. That's how good this quick attack perk actually is. It's comedically strong. Next up, let's talk a little bit about something that is extremely weak, comedically weak. Is this one right here called Deep Purple. It charges Deep Purple from placed smoke. This is It does absolutely nothing. It places smoke clouds on the map, and when enemies run through them they get damaged. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't deal damage. It just stays there. It doesn't even stay there for very long. It leaves me speechless and I don't know what to say. Here, let's keep going with the F tier and talk about this one right here, Lacking Spark. This puts into perspective how bad the Deep Purple actually is. Because, spoiler alert, the Lacking Spark is also gonna be F tier. This one doesn't put smoke onto the map, but instead it does flames. The exact kind of useless dog shit. But this one right here removes poison from the field. So at least it does something, you know? That something is also completely useless and you would just be better off walking through the poison or waiting the poison out, you know what I mean? You don't need to remove the poison from the field. But at least it has some usages if you really wanted to, which you won't, but if you wanted to, in some stages, you know, and it is still F tier. Like, I mean, that really, if that doesn't put into perspective how bad the Deep Purple is, then I don't know what else would do that. We have something in the S tier, we have something in the F tier. Now, why don't talk about something that is middle of the road, like Julienne right here. Yeah, it's pretty good. She is defensively pretty viable. These slashes around yourself, they actually deal enough damage to kill something, you know what I mean? And everything that would approach is actually gonna die once you level this up like once or twice. So pretty decent. It is close range though. And the true bummer is, what a lot of people hate about Julienne is that she needs another perk that is like F tier weak. You can make an argument this is the worst perk in the entire game, and she needs this one for you to take in order for you to be able to upgrade Julienne, to evolve her, right? That is a huge downside for her in a lot of people's eyes. Okay, then let's stick to the middle of a road and call about this one right here, the Bee Swarm command. A swarm of bees circles around you, and this is blocking some ranged attacks. It's very inconsistent. It is just here in case you would really need it, because you get cornered and you can't really dodge the ranged attacks, but you need to, right? In some stages there's a ridiculously high amount of ranged attacks coming at you, so you being able to prevent yourself from being hit by those is defensively quite good. But yeah, this perk is outclassed by other defensive perks, and it really only is here for the purpose that in case you don't have the character Kurapika available to yourself. If you have Kurapika at your disposal, this perk is immediately completely useless F tier, right? But for people that don't have that, the Beast Form command is not too shabby, can be used, should be avoided still, but could be used. So I think C tier here is perfectly fine for that perk. Okay, then we have the A tier and the D tier left to be filled with something. Let's go right ahead. We're gonna talk about the green perks as well. Don't worry about it, they come after the character perks. Here, 3 floating hands dance. Floating left hands is very important. It's not right hands, it's left hands. They circle around the map and they track enemies down. So what this is basically a weaker version of the balls. And yeah, that's why like A tier is the perfect place. It is a weaker version than the balls, but the balls are so ridiculously broken that if something even can compare to them, it's automatically not too shabby. So these hands also do a respectable amount of damage. They are easily upgraded, very good upgrades, and they get the job done. So A tier here is perfectly fine. Then for the D tier is something of course quite useless, right, needless to explain, and this one is snipes. Snipes an enemy, dealing damage to enemies in a straight line. This straight line is teeny tiny, the damage is not too great either. It is so heavily outclassed by many other perks. There's never ever a reason for you to ever take this. It doesn't deal good AoE damage because the area in which it deals damage is way too small. It is not good against single target enemies either because the damage is pretty much non-existent. So I mean, nah, at least it does deal some direct damage, and therefore it is better than Deep Purple and Lacking Spark or whatever that thing is called. So it has to be 1 tier higher than those, and that's why Snipe is gonna be in our D tier. Alright, for the rest of these character perks we're gonna move from the bottom up to the very top. Another F tier contender here is Paper Confetti. This does literally as much damage as Paper Confetti would do to someone in real life. Absolutely pathetic, absolutely nothing whatsoever. You would even prefer to remove the poison at that point, right? You would prefer this over Deep Purple, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, the damage, it doesn't exist. And the damage is all that this does. It's way too low, it's absolutely pathetic, as the name already implies. Then we have this one right here. Where would you rank this one right here? The Butler's Bullet. This one shoots coins, rapid firing at nearby allies. It is actually quite respectable damage and nothing to sneeze at. It deals only damage to 1 enemy. If you upgrade this, it will deal damage to like 2 enemies and stuff. That is not exactly what we are looking for. We would take this mainly for the good single target damage that it does. The problem is this is heavily outclassed in everything that it does by a perk that we will talk about in just a second here. It does literally the exact same thing, but better than the Butler's Bullet. Alright, but first of all, I want to talk to you about the Soaring Arrows. I think this one is a little bit controversial when it comes to how I would rank this. I see people rank this quite low and they don't like this very much, very often. I personally, I don't see a problem with this. The damage is okay, it does kill stuff, it is super strong and clears entire screens if you evolve this, so I don't personally have a problem with it. I think this is good. middle of the road for me personally is the perfect judgment here. Then next up we have Shuriken Flurry. Now this one is piss weak if you first take it. It takes a few upgrades to start doing something, actually doing damage and stuff to multiple enemies. But the real kicker here is that this one turns into the best single target damage perk aside from quick attack in the game. When you evolve this though, it has super high damage output against bosses in its evolved version. So it has problems, it needs time to get going, and you need to take it multiple times, you need to upgrade it, right? If you get this evolved, and then against bosses though, it is one of the best, it is the second best perk in the game for that. And for that reason, I have to put it in A tier, right? Because the thing that it excels at is single target damage, and it is the best one in the game for that. The bummer is why it's not S tier is because it is weak early and you need to evolve it. But nonetheless, right? If you have the best single target damage in the game, even if you need to be evolved, I mean that has to count for something, and therefore I put this one in A. Here, the last but not least for the character perks, we have the White Gorenu. A gorilla appears and charges across the field. This is also like the worst thing ever. When I was new, right, for the first day, I tried this a few times, and it is really so blatantly obvious, completely useless, and does absolutely nothing. It's quite shocking, if I'm gonna be honest. So yeah, it's like the same thing as like the confetti. The damage is pathetically low. It doesn't kill anything. I don't even know what this even is. I would even take the confetti over this gorilla if I'm completely being honest. But I mean, here we are. Now let's move on to these green perks. Most of those actually will go into our D tier because they are so whatever, you know. Let's start off with them here. This wristwatch, basic skill duration plus 5%. That synergizes, yeah, a little bit with like the shurikens. Mainly it is here for the smoke and the flames, so yeah, you can already see it's not crushing it, but it is not F tier kind of useless because of the shuriken and other things that it increases the duration of those things. Nothing great, but yeah, not F tier caliber anyway. Same for the basic skill size. You can stack this like 3-4 times and you will barely ever even notice a difference. It does synergize at least a tiny little bit with basic attacks, for example from Hisoka. It makes the balls a little bit bigger and stuff, but it's barely even noticeable. But it is, again, it does something, so it is not F tier. Here, the cell phone for the aura pickup, it does make you a little bit more consistent and faster even under some circumstances, but still you would be better off taking anything else that would increase your damage output instead of this aura pickup range. It's, yeah, you can take it once, it's alright, right? It does something, but I mean, come on. Let's be real. You can combine this with this one right here with the aura gain plus 5%. Yeah, you gain a little bit more experience. You will level up a little bit faster by taking this. But again, like, you are just better off taking something that increases your actual defensive or your offenses, right? Your combat capabilities are a better thing to upgrade than taking any of this aura thing or size or duration, right? Just go for straight up firing power or for flat defenses. Alright, then yeah, let's move to the what are the very worst perks in the entire game. It's the X, right? 0.5 HP recovery every 5 seconds. I mean, this one is tough. This one is tough. This is definitely one of the worst. But here, make a decision. Are the eggs worse? Or is this one here worse? The wooden vault. I would say these two are very, very equal. Here, this has Jenny gain, gold gain, plus 10%. This is used when you grind out the challenges for gold. These challenges, by the way, they don't cost you any stamina, and even if you don't beat them or complete them, they will drop you gold every single time. So you can grind this out non-stop for an eternity, and you will gain more and more and more and more gold. If you decide to do this, then you max out and upgrade this wooden vault every time you find it to increase your Jenny gain. Even for this very specific niche though, I did it a lot. I tried it out excessively kind of. It doesn't increase your gold income by a lot, right? Same for these eggs. They don't recover any HP to begin with anyways. So, I mean, these two are very destined. They are made to be in the F tier. Let's be real. Cool. Then next up we have this martial arts uniform, which gives you damage taken minus 5%. You would also almost actually never take this, right? This is still better than everything below because it gives you flat defense, right? This is better than anything else that is below. By the way, these eggs, they were what I was talking about when I talked about having to upgrade Julienne. That Julienne needs a very bad perk in order for her to be upgraded, right? That were the eggs that I was talking about. That is what a lot of people see as a huge bummer for Julienne, and that's why they underestimate her a little bit. But I mean, it's fair, right? These eggs, they suck, they are FT, and if you have to take them, that is not a good thing for you. But anyways, right? Flat defenses is better than Jenny gain, aura pickup, or whatever, right? It's just flat out more value and better. Same for basic skill projectile speed. That would usually also be pretty bad, but it belongs into the C tier because it synergizes perfectly well with the best things in the game, which are mainly our balls, like always, and the floating hands, right? They will speed up, hit more enemies more consistently and faster. That's why this rifle ammo belongs into the C tier right here. Okay, then we have this skateboard, which increases your movement speed by 5%. Now, where would you put this? You will take this one anyways, because you need this in order for you to evolve your balls. So that immediately nets it a quite good place, and increasing your movement speed is usually better than flat out damage taken reduction, because yeah, you will take even less damage than just 5% by being able to move faster. This is a little bit skill intensive, right? But also not really, you know. You will take less damage, you will dodge way more projectiles, evade way more enemies, and therefore you have more value out of this than you would ever gain from just basic damage or damage taken minus 5% for that matter. And that's why this has to be a rank higher than the damage taken and the projectile speed, and that's why it's B tier. That's as simple as it gets. Then here, basic skill cooldown minus 5% from the Gungi, not too bad. I make good use out of this because I play Hisoka as my leader, and him throwing out his cards even just a little bit faster, you can see a little bit of a difference there when it comes to your damage output. I highly profit from this. Also, Hisoka excels at critting, right? And hitting a little bit faster. It all comes together and is very great. But yeah, it's outclassed. There are better offensive perks. The best offensive perk in the game is the Ben's Knife. if you have like these arrows and the hands and the balls, every single ball, every single hand, every single arrow, every single slash, right? Everything that you fucking do deals 5% more damage. This adds up quite significantly and is very, very, very strong. Of course, right? Those are the green perks. Don't make a mistake and take this, for example, this Ben's knife, over like the shurikens or a character skill. You gain more out of these character skills than this 5% damage output from the Ben's knife. But still, Ben's knife, you are never like, oh, I hate this shows up, I have to take this, why, right? This is always good and very, very valuable. Best offensive perk out of these green ones in the game, and that's why it's A tier. 5% is not enough to put it in S tier, but yeah, A tier is the perfect place. Then next up, and this is the last perk that we're gonna talk about, we have this Roasted Grade Stamp. This one gives you max HP plus 5%, and this one is the best defensive green perk here in the game, and therefore it also has to be in our A tier, so that we have the best offensive and the best defensive green perk in the game, both in our A tier. And that is my tier list when it comes to all of these perks in HUNTER NENxSURVIVOR. I hope that was fun and informative. If you want to see more HUNTER NENxSURVIVOR content from myself, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, peace.